Hey everyone, Ramsey Fisher here, and welcome back to my channel. On our third day in the Florida Keys, we head offshore into the Atlantic Ocean, and Sawyer and I dive a patch reef using the Brownie Third Lung in search of lobster and fish with the spear gun. Conditions were great, with high visibility and moderate to low current. This made for easy swimming and searching for our lobster along the patchy rock bottom. Once again, we primarily used the snare, but also got elbows deep with our hands and had a tickle stick and net with us in case the situation would call for this method. We also carried a spear gun with us, and I was fortunate to bag a nice red grouper for the fish fry too. I'm excited to be sharing this year's Keys trip for opening season lobster with everyone. We had another successful day and hit our lobster limit yet again, so stay tuned. If you have not seen my day one video of us packing gear and making our trip down to Key Colony Beach from Fort Myers, check it out.
Snares and tickle sticks.
We left dark and early to make the most of this first day. If you have a passion for the outdoors, you may know the excitement or struggle of hitting the road early to travel to your destination.
All right, help me load this shit.
You ready yet?
All right, first stop, gas stop. We loaded up the bourbon and we loaded up the boat and our tanks.
An early start allowed us to travel south with minimal traffic and gave us plenty of time to launch the boat, get settled in at the house, and hop on the water for a solid half day.
All right, let's get there.
Key West.
Robbie's. Yeah, if we can't catch anything, we'll just go there.
Yeah.
Once in Marathon and to the public ramp, we made quick work of launching the boat and running around through Vaca Cut to the rental house, while my dad parked the trailer. This place is located in Key Colony Beach. Once at the house, we unloaded our gear from the bourbon and boat as quick as possible and were back out on the water to find some fresh dinner for night number one.
Drop it. Drop it! No, don't drop it. Extension cords. Pretty floor. Rods. It's coming together, guys. All right, guys, we are hitting the water and gonna see if we get some lobsters today. We're heading up for the first time of this trip. Got Sawyer, Colorado boy, and it's just first day. We got down here this morning, rushed to unpack, rushed to pack the boat, make sure we got what we need. We're definitely forgetting something, but we're just gonna get at it and see if we can find some lobster, maybe spear some fish today, just kind of scope out what everything's like. So let's see what we find, and hopefully it starts with some lobster.
If you did not see my last video, we spent our second day diving at Duck Key. While we were there, the visibility was low and current was strong, but we were still able to meet our quota and get our lobster limit. So if you're interested in lobstering Duck Key, or just want to see these videos in chronological order, jump over to see Sawyer and I dive that area. I have both day 1 and day 2 videos linked in the description below. On this day 3, calm winds and mostly clear skies welcomed us this morning, and we decided to take the opportunity to run offshore into Atlantic waters where visibility was high and life on the reef bountiful, and even some dinner table worthy fish were harvested. Filming for the first time while diving was highly rewarding this trip, especially when things went smoothly, and I was really happy with the quality of the footage I captured. I even lost my GoPro for a period of time while we were on the reef, but I was remarkably able to find it afterwards. We were fortunate enough to have nice weather and water conditions to dive our ocean reef patch, as this is one of our favorite places to get into the water. As we roamed the patchy rock and coral bottom, we were thrilled to find lobster scattered throughout.
Got all the gear laid out. Some lobster? How are you, guy?
So salty.
So salty Colorado guy. Got some rain over there, and we're going this way.
Our day started by leaving our rental house in Key Colony Beach in Marathon, which offers direct access to the Atlantic waters.
Right here.
We quickly made our way offshore towards the drop-off where Sawyer and I jumped in the Brownie Third Lung and began our efforts in about 25 to 30 feet of water. Once in the water, we were surrounded by these jellyfish in the upper water column. This is a pretty funny encounter as we regularly greet these jellyfish in Atlantic waters during this Keys trip. As we descended to the bottom, the habitat looked great, and it did not take us long to find our first lobster, so I handed Sawyer the snare to catch our first ocean critter. He did fly all the way down here from Colorado after all. Over the years, Sawyer has become a natural diver and lobsterman. He just needs to be dunked in fresh water soon after. After measuring the lobster and confirming it was legal, we toss it into the lobster hotel and collect our gear before moving on and scanning the bottom for our next target. Always make sure your lobster hotel is properly closed and don't forget your gear if you put it down. This patch reef is in 25 to 30 feet of water, and we had some overcast so the visibility was quite good, but not crystal clear. However, the bottom was alive with activity as we moved along the edges of seagrass and scattered rock and sand, which is great lobster habitat, so it did not take us long before we stumbled upon our next lobster. This time around, I handed Sawyer the camera and I took my crack at the snare to pull this lobster out and make quick work landing our second of the day. Lobster need to have a 3-inch carapace, and this one was just too small. Soon after, I spotted a decent red grouper. I took a little time to debate taking this shot as it was going to be close to the size limit, but I was fairly confident it was over. Plus, we needed meat for the fish fry. I was thankful when the grouper measured out at 22 inches, given the minimum slot is 20. After delivering the grouper to the boat, we continued our search along some denser rock bottom for more lobster, and it was not long before we located this one, which Sawyer made quick work of with the snare. I quickly noticed it was an egg-bearing female and pointed it out to Sawyer. We would go on to find a few more egg-bearing lobster during this dive. And I've actually noticed a trend of capturing more egg-bearing lobster when in deeper ocean waters versus shallow Gulf waters. Let me know if this is something you too have experienced in your own efforts. Sawyer suddenly received a conch call, and it said lobster straight ahead. Diving in these conditions was a warm welcome compared to the conditions we were in at Duck Key the day before. And the volume of fish and other life on the bottom was much more appreciated as well. Did I mention we were not fighting the current at all times? Nearly always we find our lobster dwelling within crevices or under ledges. But once in a while we locate lobsters creeping around in the open, just like this one was. real easy to catch with the snare. This was a good sized lobster, and I was excited to add another to the bag after having to let some others go. In this clip, we located a lobster tucked away in the crevice of a rock. And you can see Sawyer trying to get the snare around the lobster's tail. When they curl their tail, it is often because they are protecting eggs. Lobster without eggs will often flare their tail out in preparation to flee, or maybe to make themselves appear larger for predators. But this one made quick work of scurrying away, and when we were able to catch up with it, it had found a nice little cave that was just too small for itself. When Sawyer finally coaxed it enough with the snare, we did indeed find that it was carrying eggs. Lucky for us, when we released it, it led us right into another lobster next door. It is very common for multiple lobster to be in close proximity to each other, as they prefer to move at night and in groups. This lobster turned out to be a perfectly acceptable keeper. Sawyer and I would regularly work together with the snare and the net in case the lobster bolted before we had the chance to snare it. But the snare remained our preferred method. It's also much easier to take a lobster out of the snare than the net, as the spines and horns get caught up in the net regularly. When catching lobster, it's best to cover both the entrance and possible exit, as the lobster may come out forward or try to evade backward. This one did not get the chance to flee though. After a quick measure, it went into the bag too. It's always a great feeling when the lobster hotels start to get a little heavy. I've always really enjoyed diving and being in the water with the Brownie Third Lung. There is something oddly natural about being suspended upside down and catching lobster that is highly rewarding. Swimming around the bottom with this much visibility was great because we could easily identify the best bottom cover for lobster and make our way around scanning for their antenna or the small crevices or ledges they prefer to inhabit. After being in the water for 30 minutes or so, I went to the surface to give the okay to the boat and confirm things were good before resuming our dive. We spotted some more undersized lobster and kept moving along, scanning the bottom in search of larger critters. Eventually, we stumbled upon a nice moray eel hidden in the rock. These are pretty common bottom dwellers, and we like to give them plenty of space when we locate them, as they can become territorial and even aggressive. This one came out and checked us out a little bit before we moved on. Almost immediately after, we spotted this porcupine fish, which we find somewhat often when looking for lobster. I think they are called porcupine fish, so let me know if you think otherwise. We soon after spotted this lionfish too, which will often harvest these, but we didn't want to interrupt our dive just yet. Eventually, we did find our next quality sized lobster. And this one was also carrying eggs, and as such needed to be released. But one lobster usually means more lobster, and we were back in the groove spotting them every so often again. As I said earlier, the high visibility makes seeing them so much easier as you can scan so much space as you move along. We have two measurements on our measuring sticks, so that's why you will often see us take a second glance at them. I should probably get a simpler tool for this. This lobster was under an awkward rock overhang, but our handy snare made for a relatively easy capture after getting into position. And there was even an interesting crab in the backside that Sawyer spotted. I've heard these are pretty good eating, but I've not tried them yet. Maybe next year. This lobster was not shy and came right out when approached. But you can see how it keeps its tail curled tightly together. That's my first sign that it might have eggs. And sure enough, after catching it, I was able to spot the eggs. In this clip, I think Sawyer may have found another roaming lobster. And just used the net and tickle stick to bag him. Thanks to the high visibility and sunny day, the flashlight was not necessary, but it still came in handy when some lobster were deep in crevices. After tickling out this lobster with the snare, it was clearly a keeper lobster, but it sure kept its tail curled, which was an early sign that it may have eggs. But once I finally had the snare around it, it was clear. Before I went to release it, I noticed another lobster next door. So I waved Sawyer over to help. And this hole turned out to have 2 lobster in it. So we naturally pulled the first one out and tossed it into the hotel before catching the second. But after catching the second one and measuring it, it turned out to be an undersized lobster, and we released it. You may be able to just barely see an antenna in this hole as Sawyer tries to tickle out this lobster with the snare. But this one was not coming out and just dug deeper inside. So Sawyer resorted to digging in himself and feeling around for the lobster. However, after a while of digging, we just decided to move on and search elsewhere for more. At first look, I had only spotted one lobster under this rock. And after finally getting it in with the snare, I spotted another nearby. The first one turned out to be just too small, so I tried dropping it further away from our next target. And as I attempted to snare this new one, it actually evaded me and kicked right into Sawyer, who caught him barehanded while holding the camera. But this was an egg-bearing lobster and had to be released. Sawyer is a big hunting guy, so we had to carve out some time for him to locate a spear-worthy fish. Unfortunately for us, the first dinner-worthy fish we found was this quality lionfish, which are excellent eating if handled carefully, as they have venomous spines on their fins. So be sure to handle with care if you ever get one. This yellow stingray was beautiful and was kind enough to let me get up close for some high quality footage. It was also about this time when I accidentally dropped my GoPro as we got back into the boat between dives. This led to us immediately diving again and frantically searching the area. While we were actually looking for my GoPro, we caught a lobster, and the biggest loggerhead sea turtle I've ever seen came right up to us and surprised us. I honestly thought I'd have to give over my lobster. He was getting so close. But fortunately, this giant turtle just swam away real slow with the current. And of course, this happened while I didn't have my GoPro. Which then led us to this celebration when we finally recovered my GoPro. Overall, this was one of my favorite dives of the Keys trip, and it was also one of my first times really filming underwater, which was super rewarding. Tell me about your own underwater filming, or feel free to share some tips too. Filming and catching is pretty tough with a handheld GoPro, so I may need to try out the mask attachment if I decide to keep filming underwater. We saw an abundance of life on the reef and caught lots of lobster. So let me know what you guys think of this footage and if you have any recommendations for more underwater footage.
Alrighty guys, we just finished doing some dive-in out in the ocean side. It's getting pretty choppy, but I actually lost my camera, my GoPro. We dropped it during transition coming up to the boat before moving spots, and we just couldn't find it on the boat. So we dove back down kind of where we were and started doing some circles, trying to find some place where we had shot some fish or caught some lobster. And sure enough, after like, I don't know, 30 minutes of looking, we actually found my dive camera. Which is awesome because it's the only camera that I've been shooting on so far when we've been diving. So now we're gonna head in, go through 7 Mile Bridge. We might dive around there a little bit, but man, we got a nice red grouper, some lobster, and what a win just finding my camera after having lost it. Got all the gear laid out. Some lobster.
How are you, guy?
I'm so salty.
So salty, Colorado guy. Got some rain over there. And we're going this way.
On our way back to the house, we would also dive the 7 Mile Bridge and adjacent areas in order to reach our 4-person limit. The 7 Mile Bridge can be a great place for lobster and fish, but it's very important to be careful as there are often strong currents and a lot of boat traffic. So always be aware of the conditions when on and in the water and have your dive flag up if you're diving.
Yeah? Yeah.
Of course, it's not a summer Keys trip without some rain showers, and man did we run through one on the way home through the Gulf side. We then took Vaca Cut through to the other side and into Key Colony Beach. I can't express how convenient it is to be able to jump between ocean and Gulf waters while down here thanks to this cut. From here, it's an easy run around to the rental house.
All right, we just got back from our second full day and we got our 4-person lobster limit. We're pretty psyched about that. We're about to toss them in the cooler on some ice with red grouper we got and lionfish. But look at these suckers.
Before cleaning them, we will ice down these bugs in a cooler.
Here you go, son.
So, some special treat that I caught today is a Spanish lobster. I've seen these a few times. I've never caught one. They're really, really pretty. I know. So they look just like normal spiny lobsters, but they got this beautiful pattern. They don't get that big. This is a pretty normal size of them. But super cool. We're gonna find out what it tastes like.
After cleaning our fish and lobster, we do a little fishing off the dock for snapper and tarpon, and then get dinner going before it gets too late. We are notorious for late dinners on this trip.
Guys, we've been working hard, catching some snapper and breading everything. So now we're about to fry it. Whole bunch of good breadings on here, and we got our good old Everglades in there in the mix. So
if you like catch, clean, and cooks, you will want to see our Keys snapper catch, clean, and cook. I'll be uploading it to my channel soon.
Guess I can just hold it over here while I
would think so. Oh, now I gotta move the camera.
lining it up.
Take down the Zepta.
All right, we're gonna let that.
As always, I greatly appreciate everyone's support and feedback. Please like this video and subscribe to help my channel grow and to see more of the Keys trip and my channel.
And guys trying to catch more fish.
They don't bite.
They're not biting.
No fish in this pond. Not when you're frying.
Just to check.
And you have to
Ooh, almost all floating.
get some. Just like that. That's really good.
Brown, crispy, and floating. And then we pull them on out. Oh, perfect, crisp.
Come here, guy. Put your plate out there and don't let the fishing land on it.
First fish bite of Keys trip, and it's a hit. All right, we are going to give shark fishing off the dock another go today. Again, back in Key Colony Beach Marathon. My buddy Sawyer has not had a single shark bite or even tarpon bite on the big rods ever since we've been here. This is our third night, I think. So we're gonna give it another go. Sun's going down, tide's moving a little bit. Get the headlamp out soon and toss some baits off the dock and see what we can get. Looks pretty nice.
Ramsey Fisher here. I'll catch you later.